4 years ago today, the world was taken by storm. A game with no marketing beforehand, and releasing into the already crowded Battle Royale market. How could this be a success? On February 4th, 2019, we would find out. We began to see streamers promoting this game made by Respawn Entertainment. The same people who had made the severely underrated Titanfall series and had been involved in the original Modern Warfare trilogy. When I finished watching all the reveal hype, I was left stunned, but then I found out the game was out. And well, the rest, as they say, is history. The last 4 years have certainly been a rollercoaster for Apex Legends. Lots of highs, but certainly some lows to go alongside them. It's fair to say, however, it's a rollercoaster I continue to enjoy and keep going back for more. But what has made this game so popular? How does it still lead the Battle Royale genre so many years later? And how does the current state of the game compare to the release date? Well, prepare to glide across a zipline and grab some popcorn as I look into Apex Legends 4 years later. The thing that made me fall in love with Apex to begin with was its core gameplay. The movement, gunplay and small mechanics all come together in this game to create what is to me the smoothest first person shooter and Battle Royale on the market. The movement is simple, but it has a lot of depth to it. Early on you'll learn the strength in sliding and jumping to gain momentum, but as you progress, the player begins to pick up on smaller things such as wall jumps, zipline bouncing or climbing spots to get ahead of your enemy. It feels very rewarding to learn the movement, as it's such an important way to gain an advantage over your enemies. Add these to the legend movement abilities I will get into in more detail later on, and you have a very advanced movement system that is rewarding to learn. Finally on the movement, there's unlimited sprint and no fall damage. When you add this onto the ability to get on loads of different terrain, it creates a system that causes loads of varied gunfights and smooth fast gameplay. This leaves you always focused on the game. The gunplay is another strong point, and is mostly responsive. Weapon types such as light, heavy, sniper, shotgun and energy weapons create a large pool of weapons, with each filling a different role in the sandbox. Many weapons have been added since the release of the game, such as the L-Star or 30-30 repeater. Whilst over the years we have seen periods where certain guns have been by far the best. I'm looking at you pre-patch wingman. I believe the guns in their current state are well balanced and has a few standouts here and there. When you take these two core mechanics, movement and gunplay, add them to the new systems that have been added, such as the new Evo armor that promotes getting into gunfights, a crafting system that takes away some of the randomness of loot, and the revolutionary respawning mechanic that changed Battle Royales forever, and you have one of the most engaging and fast-paced Battle Royales on the market, with an addictive gameplay loop that is rewarding to learn. This is by far the game's biggest strength, as it's that gameplay loop that keeps me playing and having fun. I also forgot to mention the game has a ping system. This makes it so much easier for teams that aren't able to speak on the mic, as they can instead ping things to their teammates. The main appeal to most people when they first get into Apex Legends is the hero shooter model. Similar to Overwatch, the game launched with a set number of legends and has a new one in every new season. The legends are split into 4 different categories: Assault, Defensive, Scout and Support. This means that in the game mode of trios you're always short of at least one role, so the team must choose a trade-off. As for the legends themselves, they are mostly balanced. All of them are usable and have some role, although there are some standouts. Particularly I would say in Ranked. I would say that since the release of Valkyrie in Season 9, she has been the outstanding legend in Ranked play and is used in most squads in the top level due to her power in repositioning the whole team. Finally regarding the legends, each has their own lore, which I will touch on a bit more later on. This means the characters have a bit more depth to them, and it allows the player to become attached to them and have a main. Interactions between them is also cool to see, especially with the ever-evolving storyline the game has. All of this is great, but what maps do we get to play on? Well, Apex Legends currently has 5 maps. The release map Kings Canyon, and then the 4 post-launch maps: World's Edge, Olympus, Stormpoint and Broken Moon. I know there is some hate towards a couple of the maps. I'm looking at you, Stormpoint. But for me, All the maps can be fun in their own way. I divide the maps into 3 groups. Those good for casual, those good for ranked, and those I find fun in both. For me, if I aim to play these maps in these ways, I find them a lot more fun. Objectively, the best map is World's Edge. It feels like this map was handcrafted to perfectly fit the mechanics of Apex Legends. The rock faces create defined choke points that teams can fight over. Buildings and terrain can perfectly create power positions, and the visuals, well, they are simply stunning. The points of interest are varied. The map is just brilliant. The other maps follow a similar formula in terms of their choke points and power positions, but other than Olympus, the other maps feel either too small or too big to work in all the game modes. The maps rotate every season, which allows the game to stay fresh, and in new seasons where maps are not added, there's changes made to the maps. The only thing I would like to see regarding the maps is to see more limited time modes, where we get to see old versions of maps returning. I think it would be great to see the first version of Kings Canyon to return for the odd weekend here and there. This will give older players a chance to return to the glory days of the game, and it will give new players a chance to play on old maps they might not have experienced yet. What makes Apex special to me is the extra depth of the universe and game as a whole. We must begin with a story. It's set in the Titanfall universe. The Apex games are a Hunger Games style idea with teams of 3 fighting towards the final prize. Each legend enters the arena to fight for their own goals. Pathfinder, for example, is searching for fame to find his creator, or Wraith, who is using the games to find answers to her past. Each map helps add to this lore. Kings Canyon, for example, is home to the labs where Wraith was created. When we go here in game, we can find lore related to the subject. My favourite area of the story, however, is developing stories between all the legends. Since the game released, there has been hints of storylines, and they have developed over the years, which is supported by trailers, animations, in-game events and lore. If you are interested in playing Apex, or want to know more about the lore, then I encourage you to check out the stories of the Outlands trailers. They go into more detail about these legends and are great short animated episodes. Another cherry on top of Apex Legends is the Arenas game mode. Releasing in Season 9, this small CSGO and Apex hybrid is the perfect side game mode. It has quick rounds that allow the player to learn the speed of Apex Legends, the legend abilities, and the mechanics of the game. It can also be a blast to play with mates, or as a quick warm-up before hopping into ranked. It's not something that I play often anymore, but I can't really argue against it. It certainly adds to the overall experience in a beneficial way.
Call us Apex Legends. But not all legends are heroes. Remarkable. Each fight for their own reasons.
I knew your every move. Shit ready.
From the ashes of war, legends are born. They're icons of strength and power.
Time to win.
Outside the ring,
Thank you.
they're champions.
You guys miss me?
Like most games, Apex Legends is not perfect. It has a backwards skill-based matchmaking system that for me is a major problem, given the fact the game is a ranked playlist. I won't go on about my thoughts on that topic in this video, as I did that in a previous video, so feel free to check that out if you want to hear my thoughts on it. Another huge part of Apex Legends is monetization. It follows the same model inspired by Fortnite, free to play with a battle pass. I don't have an issue with this at all, as the battle pass gives something to play for and gives enough credits back to get the next one. There are also loot boxes that are tied to the progression system and give out cosmetics. Again, I have no issue with these, despite their randomness, as lots can be earned for free through the leveling, battle pass and treasure packs, and they give no gameplay advantage. It's the collection events in Apex Legends that I have a problem with. Whilst they are nowhere near as awful as the Iron Crown collection event all those years ago, they still ask for outrageous prices, with newer events costing near £200 to get enough for the heirloom. I don't have a problem with how rare the heirlooms are, even though it took me 3 years to get mine, but charging £200 for a melee weapon or character skin is a huge problem. As this game is made by EA, this monetization is part and parcel of the experience. I'm sure if Respawn had it their way, they would do it differently. Another thing to expect when going into a game made by EA is poor servers. whilst recently they haven't been as bad, there are games I go into where the whole server is lagging, or times where I can't even get onto the game. That to me is a shame, but to be honest, I expect nothing less, as I've played the FIFA series for years now. Another small flaw would be the lack of limited time modes. I mentioned before that I would have liked to see the original version of Kings Canyon return, but I would also like to see more LTMs added in general. From the early days of Armed and Dangerous, to the days of Deja Loot. In the early seasons, it felt like Apex were able to mix it up with their game modes. It seems recently, however, that the innovation for these modes has been lost, with a lack of new game modes every season, and they simply bring back older game modes instead of releasing new ones. Finally, as I'm considering the current state of Apex, it's important to mention the recent news regarding the cancellation of the mobile game and the upcoming single player game that was meant to be set in the Apex universe. The latter would have been awesome to see, given this game's great story, but this highlights a more worrying issue, and brings the question of how much more potential Apex has left. But I guess we can only wait and see.
Charge. Reloading. Patching myself up.
The current state of Apex Legends is a strange one for me. The core game itself is doing quite good, and is well balanced with a sufficient amount of content that does keep me playing. The new content such as maps, weapons and legends keeps me coming back every season, alongside wanting to reach a high rank in the ranked playlist each season. The game also has a good progression system, which is another reason to keep playing, which can't be said for some games nowadays. The monetization and servers are not perfect. I know what to expect when playing an EA game, and I can't really ask much more from them. It's the situation surrounding the game which concerns me the most. Given EA's track record of ripping apart game companies, there's always the worry that they do that to Respawn, despite the fact they put out some amazing games over the last decade. I'll be honest though, it does seem the game is in somewhat of a decline. Nowhere near finished, but it seems we've already reached the peak. I really would have loved to see what Respawn could have done if they expanded on this universe with a single player game. But as EA have said in the past, single player games don't make enough cash. Let's just hope what's left of Respawn Entertainment can convince EA that Apex and the Titanfall universe is something worth investing in, as it's always been a hidden gem. If I were to review Apex and give it a score over the last 4 years, I would still give it a 90 out of 100. For me, it is by far the best battle royale ever released. It took the already popular formula, seen in games such as Fortnite and PUBG, and added its own innovations to make it stand out. Its core gameplay is some of the most fun I've ever had, and despite all the flaws I've mentioned, I still play the game every week, and will continue to do so in future, even if it does annoy me sometimes. If you somehow haven't tried it over the last 4 years, or have taken a break, then I would totally recommend giving it a try, and that is Apex Legends 4 years later.